Hi everyone, this is Eric Brown, and I'm here at Fiorella's Cucina in Concord, Massachusetts, and I'm here with Ralph Vitiello, with the general manager here in Concord.
Hi Eric, how are you?
Great for having me. Thanks for having me here. It's great to be here.
Good to see you. Yes.
So I would love to learn more about the story behind the restaurant. It's obviously a growing restaurant. You have a few different locations and a few different concepts going on. So would love to hear more about that and then get into your story as well.
Sure. So Fiorella's is our concept. Basically, is inspired Italian food with hospitality from the heart. A lot of love in every plate.
Right.
Marinara's the star of the show. To your point about having different concepts, we have our express locations, which has about 40 seats, food served on China if you come in and dine with us. No bar.
Okay.
A lot of takeout, a lot of delivery, catering out of those locations. And then we have the two Cucina restaurants, which is full service with a bar. One in Newton that's been there for going on 19 years now.
That's impressive.
And then here in Concord, we just had our 1-year anniversary on October 23rd.
Congratulations to that.
Thank you. Very exciting. And this is a real historic building. Back in the 1800s, it was a firehouse. And I have some antique photographs actually that I got from the town librarian.
Wow.
And it shows how amazing the building was. There was nothing around it. And they were here in support of the farms in the area, which are quite historical as well. Not so much commerce, because there really wasn't any back then.
Sure.
But there's been a few restaurants here over the years, and we hope to be the only restaurant here from now on in.
Well, we've definitely proven that you have what it takes to be successful.
Thank you.
The first restaurant being around for 19 years and now other locations open. So tell me a little bit behind the success. And so you've opened up here in Concord, you've greeted guests here. How do you welcome the community, and what's that personal touch that you provide in terms of hospitality, like you just said?
Sure. Well, it's pretty easy to do with our location being right in the town center. There's always a lot of hustling and bustling going on. We're just coming out of the holiday season,
right.
For example. A lot of shoppers in and around the area, and people having a good time, walking around with a hot chocolate or a cup of coffee, and then stopping in for a great lunch or a dinner and enjoying a glass of wine and nice hospitality that we demonstrate every day. It's gone hand in hand with the season, so we've done very well and seen a lot of guests. But when we we'll have it in the summertime, for example, there's actually a lot of tourism and travel to the area.
Oh, sure.
It's historic, Lexington, Concord, and there's 3 different museums within a very short distance from where we're sitting right now. And so you'll get a lot of guests, tourism groups, busfuls of people that do that sort of thing and then find their way to us as well.
Sure. And so how do you connect with them in terms of, how do you get the word out? I mean, obviously there are other eating establishments in the area that I'm familiar with. So you find your way into their stomachs somehow.
Sure. That's a great way to put it. I'll tell you that a lot of our best advertising is word of mouth. Having been here for our first year now, the community itself has all experienced us at this point. And the key is we recognize first-time visitors, so we train our staff that they'll come up to me throughout the course of lunch or dinner and, hey Ralph, who I'd like to introduce to Eric. It's his first time dining with us. I make sure that we visit every single one of those guests, as well as saying hello to our regulars. So the goal is to take that first timer and turn them into our newest regular.
Right.
And we do that with, again, hospitality, great food, great ambiance, great atmosphere. And it's not rocket science. If you treat them right, they come back.
It seems the recipe for success, to use a terrible pun, but
no, it's good.
And so tell me about the food, inspired from Italy, right? I mean, you have a wide variety of options on the menu. Seems like,
Yes.
I mean, the whole family could enjoy anything here, pretty much. Right? Picky
Truly.
eaters to people that really have a desire to eat some good quality Italian food, right?
Right. Well, freshest ingredients, sourced locally, with some tried and true, Italian recipes that have been around for years, or some proprietary ones that you can't get anywhere but Fiorella's.
Sure.
Like our scallops limoncello is a great example of that. It's a dish that, although the scallops are sourced locally, Prince Edward Island, just a great source for us. But we use actual limoncello in the dish, so it has this incredible sweetness and savoriness.
Yeah.
And then we balance that dish out with some red pepper flake at the end.
Okay.
So it has, it eats really well. And so that's a dish that you can't get outside of Fiorella's. But our chicken parmesan, which is the number one most ordered item by far, is really attributable to the marinara sauce that is so popular and so delicious that people can't get it anywhere else. We actually get so much request for it that we started having it jarred, and now we sell it in 50 different retail outlets besides the actual restaurant locations themselves.
Wow, that's a testament in itself. That's
Truly.
great.
Yeah, truly.
So tell me about going from one location to a second location and having other outlets. I mean, there are some differences in terms of how they feel, but obviously that sense of familiarity and probably some of the training practices that make you a go-to for a lot of diners, right?
Yep, and I think that the key whenever you want to be successful in multiple locations is consistency, right? People that have been going to Newton for a number of years and making the trip there, and yet now they live a little bit further out this way, near the Concord location. So we're making our location more accessible to them, but that's not going to matter at all if it's not consistent with the type of experience and quality in food and hospitality that they've experienced previously.
Very true, right.
And so that's the key, is you have to be consistent. So to your point, training is a big part of that. So when we were getting ready to open here, some of our staff actually trained and worked in Newton before we were even open. So they had already picked up on that charm and that culture that had been there 18 years at the time, And so they became our coaches, certified in training new additions to the staff here, so that even though we were no longer in Newton, we're now in Concord, the culture that has been built up over the 18 years of doing business there at that time was now demonstrated here. And we've just kept that legacy going.
And I love that you call them coaches too. I mean, that's such a great word to use. I mean, it means a lot. So, good perspective on that.
Thank you.
So tell me about how did you get into all this, into hospitality? I mean, you obviously have a passion for it.
Truly, yeah.
And you found yourself here. So
I'll tell you, it's a pretty simple tale. But when I was a young boy in my early teenage years, I was always a hustler, so I had, two different paper routes, a Boston Globe and a Boston Herald.
Oh yeah.
And on Sundays, I actually sold the Boston Globe and the Herald outside of the St. John's Catholic Church in Winthrop, and that's how I made my living. I learned at an early age, if you wanted to have a new bicycle or some new sneakers, instead of asking your parents, you hustle, make your own money, and then you can buy what you want and put something in the bank for later.
There you go. Yeah.
And so that's what I started doing. So I used to deliver papers all over town, and I delivered the newspapers to these two Greek brothers that own a place called Brothers Deli in Winthrop. And one day they stopped me and they said, "Ralph, we see you all over town. You're always, working so hard.
Yeah.
How about you come work for us? We need a new busboy." And first thing I said was, "Sure, how much you going to pay me?" And so I got to know them, and they taught me a lot about the restaurant business. I had my mother come down, and once it was okay with her, the real boss, then I started working with them a couple hours. And, back in those days, the labor laws were a little bit different, too. But I learned that I had a passion for it. I enjoyed speaking with people. I enjoyed the hustle and bustle and the craziness that you can only find in the restaurant business.
Right.
and I became addicted to it, and I've done it my whole life. I've been a general manager of a restaurant concept for the last 30 years of my life.
And we still, do you still have the paper out while you were also working as a busboy? Oh my god.
I gave up one of them. I sublet my subcontracted my paper routes to my younger brothers.
Yeah.
And managed them.
Wow.
While I was working there and doing my Sunday ones, so I became like a tycoon.
That's great.
Yeah,
it's very
funny.
like Tom Sawyer.
Yeah, absolutely. My parents loved it.
That's amazing. And so you found yourself with this concept, and you know, you've told me that it looks like you're also potentially expanding. Like, what does the future of Fiorella's look like?
Yeah, the future is very, very bright and very terribly exciting.
Mm-hmm.
We have express locations in Belmont, Brighton, and Cambridge currently, but we have our newest family member getting ready to open up in Wellesley,
Mm-hmm.
another express location over near where the old Blue Ginger restaurant was. Some people will be able to identify that location. And that's going to be exciting. We're looking at other spots for another cucina
Mm-hmm.
as well. There's some exciting areas that, we feel there's tons of growth available to us. But, the most important thing is we're not looking to grow just to grow.
Right.
We're actually being asked to come into communities because people have found us and fallen in love with us and want us to be closer to them.
And wow, I mean that's like when you have the community supporting you, that's night and day, right?
That's everything.
Yeah, that's great. And so these communities too, like Newton and Wellesley and Concord. I mean, these are not necessarily easy towns for anyone to just break into.
Truly.
Very not. I don't want to say they're closed communities, but not just any restaurant is probably going to be well received too. So
you have to be welcomed in by the city or town's leaders,
mm-hmm.
and a lot of them are guests of ours. They've dined in our concept and feel that we be good citizens. That's a big part of who we are too, is we don't just open our doors every day to do business in a community.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be good citizens in the community and participate. We'll work with a lot of local charities or fundraisers, things of that nature. You and I met actually at the Taste of Middlesex.
That's right, yeah.
Right, and that was a great program and venue for us to show who we are and participate. And we raised money that night for local charities as well, which is a cool thing.
Oh, I didn't realize that was an aspect. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, big reason why we wanted to be part of it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Even better reason for me to have attended.
Sure.
So. And so tell me, one of the things that I hear about also, just from an owner and management perspective in restaurant, is that it's hard to find help or to keep help, right? To grow and thrive, you have to be able to do that well.
Absolutely, Eric. That's a really interesting point because, as I've already mentioned, I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't ever fear, the competition created between us and another concept. I'm very confident in who we are and what we do.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, over the years, I've never seen such a battle. We're all fighting to identify and select the next great new hourly teammate.
Yep.
And that's truly where the competition comes from.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing to me. There's just so many concepts in the area, and we're all looking for the best of the best, right? To come work for us and help us do what we do every day. And so if you're out there, stop by and see me here in Concord, 24 Walden Street. But I will say that is become the greatest challenge in our industry.
Yeah, it's amazing, and also, so when you are out in, say, Concord, how would that compare, say, to Newton in terms of finding talent? Do you find a difference in terms of geography as well?
It does. So, for example, in Newton, there's a couple of, there's Bentley, Babson, Brandeis, all schools very close by.
Right.
Okay, and so I would look for something like that around here. So, for example, there's the Minuteman Technical School where a lot of people have chosen this industry to go into. So I've, made some contacts over there, and that's an area where we would pursue. So we try to do that depending on, where our locations are and what the different communities.
I understand. Well, that's good. That's a great resource. I mean, definitely younger talent for sure. So probably requires some training, but with the right
Absolutely
training and programs in place, I'm sure you do quite well at it, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. And here in the Concord location, we're young as well.
Yeah.
Having just gone through our first year, and so I don't. Sometimes it's not a bad thing that people have less experience. I can teach you the technical aspects of what we do,
Right.
but I can't teach you to have hospitality within you. You either have that in your DNA or you do not.
So I imagine that can lead to some challenging conversations if maybe you get a wrong hire, or maybe, yeah.
That's why the teammate selection process is so important.
Right.
You really need to take your time and not just hire a body, but hire the right person with the right heart.
And so for, let's say, other management professionals that may be watching this as well, what's one key takeaway that they should have from, just thinking about their career and maybe a tip for success in their endeavors?
Sure. I'll go back to the hospitality piece because I truly believe that everyone in the building, you can never be accused of being too nice or being too warm and welcoming.
Sure.
But you certainly can be accused of not being that way at all.
Right.
And so I'm sure everyone who's might be watching this, you might have gone out to eat sometime, and you walk in the front door, and the first words out of the greeter's mouth is, "Two?" Not, "Hi, hello, welcome, good afternoon, good evening." No,
Right.
They just say, "Two?" meaning two people in your party.
Right.
And that's, to me, that demonstrates the level of not having the hospitality gene.
Totally.
Where that
Yeah.
will never happen here.
That's like a transaction versus a relationship, basically.
Without
right?
a doubt. And that's my point, is I can teach you the technical aspects of once you've greeted someone, because that's within you.
Right.
That's the type of person you are. I can teach you how you handle that guest from there. And so that's the key. Another thing too, we don't call the people that come in to dine with us customers. We don't use that word. We call them guests because we want to treat them as if they're guests in our own homes.
Right.
So it's a mindset, and that's the piece I would teach anybody new to the business or building their own concept or their own location's future success. Is you can't teach that. It's not a learned behavior. It's part of your DNA.
So coming into the industry, like what should someone be looking for, saying in a job interview, when they are trying to tick off the boxes in terms of a place that's a good fit for them and where they're going to learn more so they can start making the steps they need to advance in their career?
Well, let me use myself as an example. With all my experience and having done business in many different communities in the Commonwealth, when I was looking at Fiorella's, I didn't want to speak to our fantastic owner, Ramon, because I already knew he was a great guy. You know how I knew that? It was I wanted to speak to the people that worked for Ramon for a number of years. And I would go out to eat to the different locations. And how long have you worked here? Why have you stayed so long? What makes this place such a great place to work for? So by the time I actually met Ramon, I knew so much about him and this incredible concept that I was already sold. Before any negotiations began, because it was a family. It wasn't a corporation, and that's the way we treat everybody as part of our Fiorella's family.
That's huge. I have not heard that before. That's like playing the long game for sure.
Absolutely.
But you're clearly happy being here.
I am.
So that's great. I appreciate your time. I've learned a lot.
Thank
is there
you.
anything else that anyone should know about Fiorella's, or any sort of plugs or announcements you want to make?
I'll tell you something exciting.
Okay.
We just hired a woman named Julie, who's going to be our new catering and sales manager for the concept. And so something that we're going to start pursuing is bringing Fiorella's to you at your office, or if you have a company outing that you want catered, a whole different aspect. We also will book catered events within our restaurants in some off-peak hours
Wow.
as well. So it's an exciting new aspect to who we are and what we do.
Always learning, always doing something different, it sounds like. That's
Sounds
great.
like it, yep.
Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Eric. My pleasure.
All right, thanks everyone, and we'll talk to you next time.